Welcome back. Last day I have tried to discuss about the fundamental aspects of modulation through some live examples. Now there what I told you that three important terms that we need to consider while understanding modulation are: number one, the baseband; number two, the carrier; and number three, the modulated signal. Now let us try to understand modulation little more technically today. Now modulation, I told you, is required to send information from one point to another point when the distance between those two points are very large, right? Now if we consider the general equation of a wave like say AC cos 2 pi fct plus phi, here AC is representing what? The amplitude, Fc is the frequency, and the phi is the phase for the wave that I have tried to represent mathematically. Now let us try to define modulation at first today. Modulation can be defined as the process by virtue of which we are trying to vary any parameter of the carrier in according to the instantaneous change of the baseband. What baseband is, I have already cleared that idea. Baseband carries some information. Right now I am talking in front of you, that means my speech at this moment is carrying some information, and that can be treated as a baseband, right? And carrier normally is considered to have a very high frequency in comparison to the baseband. So if we try to find out the basic difference between carrier and baseband, the answer will be, for baseband the frequency value is less, but for carrier the frequency value is very high. And there are reasons, other reasons also, for which we are trying to adapt the process of modulation, and that I will discuss step by step. But before that, as I have already tried to define the process of modulation by some definition that we need to realize at first today. I told you that this is the equation of a simple carrier wave set that we have considered. Now AC, I have told you, is the amplitude, Fc is the frequency, phi is the phase. I have defined that in modulation we are going to vary what? Any parameter may be what? It may be frequency, it may be phase, or it may be amplitude of the carrier in according to the instantaneous change of the baseband. So instantaneously how the baseband is changing, in proportion to that what we are going to do, we are going to vary either the amplitude of the carrier, or the frequency of the carrier, or the phase of the carrier, and correspondingly we are going to name that specific type of modulation. I think that is clear now what modulation is. I repeat for the last time, we are going to vary either the amplitude of the carrier, or the frequency of the carrier, or the phase of the carrier in according to the instantaneous change of the baseband, and that is the definition of modulation. If we consider this mathematical equation, as you can see, we can very easily be able to identify what amplitude value is, or what frequency value is, or what phase value is. And as those parameters are very easily determinable, that is why we can either vary the amplitude, or vary the frequency, or vary the phase in according to the instantaneous change of the baseband, right? And remember, in this regard, the beautiful thing I would like to say, if we vary the amplitude of the carrier in according to the instantaneous change of the baseband, we are going to name it as amplitude modulation. If we vary the frequency of the carrier in according to the instantaneous change of the baseband, we are going to name it as frequency modulation. and if we vary the phase of the carrier in according to the instantaneous change of the baseband, we are going to name it as phase modulation. And remember in this regard that frequency modulation and phase modulation togetherly is again called as angle modulation. So frequency modulation, phase modulation togetherly can be treated as angle modulation. Why? Because if we vary any one of bit of the carrier, that is going to impact upon the angle value of that wave, right? And if we vary the amplitude of the carrier, that is going to be named as amplitude modulation. So this is the most fundamental idea about the process of modulation, and here I have tried to emphasize upon the analog modulation processes, and next time I will again highlight what digital modulation processes are, and we will try to again find out what is the basic difference between them. Okay, thank you.